All right, today we're going to do something a little different. This is my assistant Emma.
Hi.
And we are going to make
Potato lasagna.
Doesn't that sound good? Let's go right now. So let's get started. First up, bacon sheet and bacon. Now you need 5 slices of bacon for this recipe. I had a whole bunch of little pieces because the rest were fat. I actually pulled that off for when I make baked beans. So this is what I had left. It's probably pretty close to the 5 slices I needed. So we'll lay out all this bacon onto the sheet, throw it in the oven, 400, about 15 minutes to get it somewhat crispy. First up, we need some garlic. 3 cloves ought to do, nice and minced. While we're at it, we need some onions. That's about a medium onion, all nicely chopped up. We'll put that in a container until we need it, and our bacon's done. So out it comes. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to attempt to get this off the pan onto a plate, let it cool down till I can crumble it up a bit more. There, just like that. Yummy bacon. Alright, to our frying pan, about a tablespoon of oil. Let that warm up, medium, high heat. Kind of move the oil around and in go our onions. Just like that. Let's get them on to a halfway decent saute, just so they're starting to brown up a bit. Kind of like that. Since we're done, we're going to put our garlic in. That doesn't have to stay in for very long. I'm just kind of mushing it around so it can mix in with the onions. You don't want a big clump of garlic along the way. That should do. And we'll take it off the element. Now we need some potatoes. I took out 5. You know what? I probably could have managed with 4. Nice and peeled. And now we're going to slice them thin. Because we're not using noodles, we're using potatoes. So the trick here is to be as consistent as you can be with the potatoes. It's not going to be perfect, and I don't think anyone expects it to be perfect, but the closer you are to the same, the more consistent they are when they cook. So there we go. There's our pile of potatoes. Let's get it aside. We're going to put them into a bowl just until we're ready for them, so they don't start oxidizing ahead of time. We'll put some cold water in there too. Now, this is a football ham I got at the store. I didn't have any deli ham to work with. It might have worked out a little better, but I don't know that it really matters. Now, I didn't cut this up super thin. Plus I had a hard time with getting it out of the plastic packaging. So this one's a little easier to work with because it's got all those nice ridges, and I had to go to the better knife that's a lot more sharper. Because I did want to try and cut it a little thin. Maybe one of these days I'll get me one of those meat slicers. I think that would work even better, but you can see it's fairly thin here. And I'm kind of guessing on how much I need. I think that was about 8 pieces. Now, as with everything, I could just throw them in like that, but I know when I go to eat something, they don't tear apart that easy. So I wanted to make them into bite-sized pieces. So when the finished product's ready, it's not all coming apart because the ham's too big. Here's our casserole dish. Grease her up a little bit just to make sure that nothing really sticks to the dish. Now our bottom layer is those potatoes, nice and flat on the ground. And I'm going to make sure that I plug up each of the holes. Maybe not perfectly, but enough, especially for the bottom layer. Now goes our ham. So you're going to see where the ham slices being cut up a little bit come into play here. It's a lot easier to build up your potato lasagna. I almost wouldn't have minded dicing them. I think that might have worked even better. Up next, our onion and garlic. Yummy. This is already starting to look good. And finally, half of our broken up bacon. Just like that. Next up is mozzarella cheese slices. We'll fill that gap in. Let's go on to layer 2. Same as the first. Potatoes, ham, onions, bacon, cheese. And then another layer of potatoes. Now when you do this, don't use a little measuring cup like I did. I should have used the bigger one I had. I just thought, not a big deal. And it's not a big deal if I was just using that 3/4 cup of cream. When you add 2 eggs to it, that's when you run into a bit of a problem. But being the stubborn person that I am, maybe we can make this work. Not only did it not work so well, but you can see this particular measuring cup has spouts on the front and the 2 sides. So it didn't matter what I tried, it wasn't going to work. So, brilliant idea. Let's give me some room. So we're going to dump a little bit onto our potatoes. So I've got enough room to actually mix stuff. Of course, I've now made a mess, but what are you going to do? Now to this, half a teaspoon of salt and pepper, to your liking, of course. If you want to add a little more garlic or even some mustard powder or whatever, hey, why not? Give it a go. So now we're going to take the rest of the cream mixture and pour it on top of all those potatoes. There, doesn't that look good? I think so. Now it gets topped off with shredded mozzarella. And onto a baking sheet, just to catch any possible spill. Oh, and a little bit of parsley on top. If you got the real thing, use it. I just had the dried stuff, so that's what we had to use. Okay, this goes uncovered into the oven. My assistant's going to tell you for how long.
Into the oven at 350 for 40 minutes. See you then.
Alright, Emma, here we are. Well, I tried it at the 40 mark. That wasn't quite good enough. So that is actually at the hour mark to get it all nice and brown all the way through. So we had to pull out our frozen plate for Emma, throw a little bit of our potato lasagna on it, get her a juice box. Let's give it a try. What do you think, kid?
Good. That's really good. Great.
So there you have it. A nice potato lasagna. And thanks to my helper, Emma.
Did you have fun? I did. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the button. Leave me a comment below so I know you watched. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Of course it's hot. Blow on it, silly.
Now that's what you're not supposed to do, is just go ahead and